to our worship on this, the weekend of the 3rd of October. It's that time of year when our thoughts turn to harvest, but today I want us to think about being harvest hands. There can be no harvest if there is no one to actually do the work of the harvest hands. So in this time of change, when we're perhaps tired and weary from what's gone before, nervous of how things will be, let's think about how we can do what God asks of us in the simplest ways, back to basics, working like the first disciples did, unpicking all those things perhaps which have become things that weigh us down, finding light in the darkness, courage and strength to begin again in new ways and tell others that the kingdom of God is here. So let's start our worship this morning singing together. You can sing as loud as you like in your own home, of course. We're going to join together. All the hymns will be from Singing the Faith, but of course the words will appear on the screen as they usually do. And the first one today is number 410. Lord, your church on earth is seeking your renewal from above. Teach us all the art of speaking with the accent of your love. We would heed your great commission, sending us to every place. Preach, baptize, fulfill my mission, serve with love and share my grace. Enjoy.
Lord, your church on earth is seeking your renewal from above. Teach us all the art of speaking with the accent of your love. We would heed your great commission, sending us to every place. Preach, baptize, fulfill my mission, serve with love and share my grace. Freedom give to those in bondage, lift the burdens caused by sin, give new hope, new strength and courage, grant release from fears within, light for darkness, joy for sorrow, love for hatred, peace for strife. These and countless blessings follow as the Spirit gives new life. In the streets of every city, where the bruised and lonely dwell, let us show the Saviour's pity. Let us of his mercy tell in all lands and with all races. Let us serve and seek to bring all the world to render praises. Christ to you, Redeemer King.
Hi everyone. Lucy and I decided this afternoon we were going to go out for a little walk somewhere. Oh, excuse me, can I have my sunglasses back please? Thank you very much. The sun had come out, thank you, and we just thought we'd go out for an hour and have a bit of a walk, didn't we? But then we thought, well, if we're going out for a walk, we weren't sure where we were going, we needed to take a few bits and bobs with us. So we've got some hand gel and wipes, we've got a cold drink in case the sun comes out, and some sun cream, that's really useful. But you know what it's like when you go out? Sometimes the clouds come, don't they? So we've got some tea, some coffee, because I know you like a coffee,
And then if you're hungry, there's some bananas here. Yeah, not for now, just for later. And some biscuits and saurine and, well, I've only got my sandals on, so I've put my shoes in. But then I thought I'd better put my hiking boots in case it's muddy. And some socks to wear in my hiking boots. And, oh yeah, and of course there's my sweatshirt. And if it really gets cool, I've got my pair of jeans and my body warmer. And then if it rains, I've got my cagoule and I've got my winter coat, but I've just realised the inside of that's missing, so I think one of us needs to go back upstairs. Well, I'll go back upstairs then and go and get the liner for it, and a little chair to sit on in case all the chairs are busy. What will you need? Will you need any of this? Will there be room in the car for anything else, I wonder? I'm not even sure I put petrol in the car, actually. Oh dear me, this is all getting a bit out of hand, isn't it? I don't think I really need all this stuff. Do you know, Lucy, it just got me thinking, look at all this. We do this, don't we? Jesus asked us to go out and be disciples and to tell the people about the good news. And what do? We think of all the reasons why we can't do it and all the things we have to do first. We just think we've got to have meetings about it and a plan and get some stuff together and spend some money on it. And before we know what we've done, there's all this and more. It just ends up a huge big task, doesn't it? It really does. And we just end up put off. And it's the same in church, isn't it? We just think, shall we start something? And we start off with a good idea, and next thing, it's massive. And we haven't done anything. We just sat around trying to put it together and not actually doing it. But you know, I read something this week, and Jesus actually said, you are my equipment. Yeah, you and me. We're equipment. We're all we need. And God is all we need, but he's asked us to do it without all this stuff. Jesus said to his friends, you'll be provided for. Got to trust a bit more really, haven't we? So as I think about that for a minute, I'm going to put all this away and just get my car keys. I don't think we need all this stuff, do we? We could just buy an ice cream when we get there. That sounds like good fun. Loving God, we know that we're willing to do things for you, but sometimes we just get a bit carried away, making arrangements and having meetings and writing things down and having more conversations and wondering how we're going to sort it out to pay for things. But really, when you ask us to do things for you, you want us to do them now. And so give us some braveness and some boldness. Help us to see what you want us to do, and let us let go of all the baggage so we can see more clearly what you would have us do. We can do it for you. In Jesus' name, amen. Well, that's good, isn't it? Oh, we don't really need all this stuff. Come on then, let's go and get the car keys and just go out and go and get a little walk. Shall we do that? Yes. Bye for now then.
Let's just continue to pray for a moment while we think about what we've just heard. Lord, we thank you for inviting us to join in the great adventure that began with Jesus. We know you have something really important that you've planned for us to do. But if we're honest, we're a bit worried that we won't be able to do it, that we'll let you down and that people may laugh at us. Lord, we want to praise you for those friends of Jesus, those disciples who did everything they did in Jesus' name. In many ways, they were just ordinary people who, by the power of the Spirit, was able to do extraordinary things. We know, Lord, that they could have made lots of excuses to get out of serving you, that they could have said they were too young, too old, had too many obligations, that they weren't very well or they didn't know enough. But you told your friends to trust you completely, that they would have all they needed. Help us to learn from them. And though we might think we're not very clever, not very strong, not very faithful, and not very good disciples, you can use each one of us in ways we never thought possible. Lord, we praise you that you have all the power we need to enable us to be your strong disciples and bold for Jesus. Amen. And so let's say together those words that Jesus taught his disciples all those years ago, and we've repeated down the centuries. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, for ever and ever. Amen. So today, like I say, I want us to think about being the harvest hands, but when Jesus asks us to do things, we very often complicate it, but by his Spirit, by his power, he enables us to do things. So let's sing together again now, number 404. God's Spirit is in my heart. He's called me and set me apart. This is what I have to do.
God's Spirit is in my heart. He has called me and set me apart. This is what I have to do. What I have to do. He sent me to give the good news to the poor. Tell prisoners that they are prisoners no more. Tell blind people that they can see. And set the trodden free. And go tell everyone the news that the kingdom of God has come. And go tell everyone the news that God's kingdom has come. Just as the Father sent me, so I'm sending you out to be my witness throughout the world, the whole of the world. He sent me to give the good news to the poor, tell prisoners that they are prisoners no more, tell blind people that they can see, and set the trodden free, and go tell everyone the news that the kingdom of God has come, and go tell everyone
Today's Gospel reading is taken from Matthew's Gospel, and I'm reading it from the Message translation. And it's entitled The 12 Harvest Hands. Jesus called 12 of his followers and sent them out into the ripe fields. He gave them the power to kick out evil spirits and to tenderly care for bruised and hurt lives. He sent his 12 harvest hands out with this charge. Don't begin by travelling to some far-off place to convert unbelievers. And don't try to be dramatic by tackling some public enemy. Go to the lost, confused people right here in the neighbourhood. Tell them that the kingdom is here. Bring health to the sick, raise the dead, touch the untouchables, kick out the demons. You have been treated generously, so live generously. Don't think you have to put on a fundraising campaign before you start. You don't need a lot of equipment. You are the equipment, and all you need to keep that going is 3 meals a day. Travel light. When you enter a town or a village, don't insist on staying in a luxury hotel. Get a modest place with some modest people and be content there until you leave. When you knock on a door, be courteous in your greeting. If they welcome you, be gentle in your conversation. If they don't welcome you, just quietly withdraw. Don't make a scene. Shrug your shoulders and be on your way. You can be sure that on Judgment Day they'll be mighty sorry, but it's no concern of yours now. Stay alert. This is hazardous work I'm assigning you. You're going to be like sheep running through a wolf pack, so don't call attention to yourselves. Be as cunning as a snake, inoffensive as a dove, but don't be naive. Some people will impugn your motives, others will smear your reputation, just because you believe in me. Don't be upset when they haul you before civil authorities. Without knowing it, they've done you and me a great favour, giving you a platform for preaching the kingdom news. And don't worry about what you'll say or how you'll say it. The right words will be there. The Spirit of your Father will supply the words. When people realise it's the living God you're presenting and not some idol that makes them feel good, they're going to turn on you. Even people in your own family may do that. There's a great irony here. Proclaiming so much love, experiencing so much hate. But don't quit. Don't cave in. It's all well worth it in the end. Have you ever applied for a job and when you actually got to the interview stage it wasn't quite what you were expecting? Or worse still, you actually started the job and realised that they've been a little bit inventive with the description of what it's like. Over the last few weeks, I've had to prepare what I call my profile. It's part of the moving on from Melton and going to a new place. I had to write a description about my skills in ministry, and it's a sobering job, I can tell you, having to sit and think how I honestly describe what I do and what I could do in a realistic way. Harder still will be the task of reading between the lines when I receive descriptions of appointments which will be available when I move on next summer. In some ways, it's good that I don't actually have to make the decision, that the order decides where I'll be sent. That tests your ability to trust in God and the system, I can tell you. But of course, we've all been called to serve God in this place. You might think that the job has changed since you were called, that the task has changed even. But the God who called us all to this work here hasn't changed, not one bit. God is still calling people of all ages, all abilities and skills to spread the word and take the message out to others. And that's what we're all part of. I looked at this reading today. When I was young, it seemed to me that to serve God, if you wanted to be a 5-star disciple, people were called to be missionaries overseas. It was just my perception of it. And while that still happens, we would do well, wouldn't we, to take heed of the reading today. Don't begin by travelling to some far-off place to convert unbelievers, it said. Go to the lost, confused people right here in the neighbourhood. That means you don't have to go to far-flung places. We start right here in Melton. There's no point in spending a fortune going miles and miles away, having to raise all that money to get there, when there are people who need our help right here on our doorstep? What does it say to our neighbours if we overlook them? The trouble is, we're very well intentioned, but don't we just spend ages talking about what we'll do, thinking about it, making plans, changing our minds, going back to plan A only to discover, well, we can't actually do that, or maybe we can't run to it, talking some more, finding others who want to help. Oh, right, well, we'll raise some funds and then we'll talk some more. You get the picture. Only to discover that the people we were going to help have actually gone somewhere else in the meantime. Or worse, they think we don't care. I know. Please don't shoot the messenger. We have to do things properly, and you're quite right. But Jesus said very clearly in that reading to his disciples, you are the equipment. You are the equipment. Basically, people are saved because they see God in action through the hands of others, through the way lives are lived, through the words and deeds of people who love Jesus. They can see Jesus' love for them through other people. No one was won for Jesus with a flash new building, although it's very useful, I have to admit. Are we so weighed down with our rules, our buildings, our communities, that we've got no energy left to actually go and do what Jesus asks of us? Yes, I know we need to work together, and we absolutely need the guidelines. I'm not knocking any of that. But just look at the disciples. Let's get back to basics. Can't we trust in God and get on with it and pray that God blesses our efforts to build the kingdom? How many hours do we spend just thinking about it and talking about things that never seem to happen? Think about a harvest for a moment. The harvest waits for no one. In my time here in Melton, I've been really blessed to talk to lots of farmers in my chaplaincy work. And one of the farmers told me that a real point of stress now is that years ago, the harvest would start on one side of the country and then seem to roll across, that it might start on the west, and gradually the weather would come across and people would work their way across the country and take equipment and farm hands with them, that everybody would be helping each other. But now, I was told, the harvests are already at the same time. It's difficult and it's demanding. It puts a huge strain on people who've got to work long hours for a short time to bring the harvests in. When it's ready, it's ready. The harvest won't wait. You know, if they just decided they had to wait, then the harvest would ruin. Farmers can't sit around discussing how they're going to deal with it, preparing and reconsidering. They have to get out there the moment the crops are ready, or it spoils. That would be huge losses, wouldn't it? There are times of intense work, and then there are times of rest. There are times to reap and there's times to sow. We just have to be ready to swing into action at the right time. That's true for the farmers, and that's true for us too. Jesus said, this is hazardous work that I'm assigning you. He didn't say it would be easy. He said people won't like it. It might feel like we're flying by the seat of our pants. It might be exhausting for a time, or challenging, and possibly a bit scary. But we must trust in God who provides. Can we trust that God will call us and then bless our efforts? Will we trust that when God asks us to do something, we'll have the courage to do it when we're called? Can we be harvest hands when the harvest is ready? Jesus said, don't quit. It'll be worth it in the end. We just need the courage. We're representing the living God. He has a job for us. Jesus tells us exactly how it will be. But he calls us knowing that we can do this. He believes in us. We just need to believe a bit more in ourselves. Jesus tells us exactly how it will be. But he knows we can do it because he tells us we are his equipment. You are a vital part of the work. Yes, honestly, you and me, we're all vital to this work. But let's be like the first disciples, the harvest hands, and get out there and do it and trust in God. So while we're thinking about that, let's go on to our next hymn now. It's hymn number 520. Give to me, Lord, a thankful heart and a discerning mind. Give, as I play the Christian's part, the strength to finish what I start and act on what I find. No one said the work would be easy, did they? But you know, together we can do this. We just need to crack on with it sometimes and trust in God, who asks us to do things knowing that we are the equipment that he needs to reach others right there on our doorsteps.
Give to me, Lord, a thankful heart and a discerning mind. Give as I play the Christian's part, the strength to finish what I start, and act on what I find. When in the rush of days my will is habit bound and slow, help me to keep in patience still what love and power and peace can fill, a life that trusts in you. By your divine and urgent claim, and by your human face, kindle our sinking hearts to flame, and as you teach the world your name, let it become your place. Jesus, with all your church I long to see your kingdom come. Show me your way of righting wrong, of turning sorrow into song, until you bring me home.
And so we come to our prayers of concern for others, knowing that God hears all those things in our hearts, the words we say out loud and the things that trouble us. So let's come before him now, knowing that he hears all of that and more. Think of someone who once knew Christ, who made a commitment and worshipped with joy, but who is now far from God. Ask that the call to discipleship may be heard again. Think of someone who is overwhelmed by their burden of responsibility, someone who struggles to cope with the demands of work or home, or of those who rely upon them for help and support. Ask that as disciples they may receive strength to care. Think of someone who fills you with hope, someone whose service, kindness and caring concern brings you joy, someone whose compassion, understanding and loving smile are a source of encouragement and peace. Ask that they may be a blessing to others and their lives may bring glory to Christ. Think of someone who is afraid of the future, whose memories are filled with pain, who finds it hard to cope with today. Ask that following Christ will bring them a peace, hope and joy that they've never known before. Think of someone who is uncertain what it is that God is wanting them to do with their lives, or who feels they've got little to offer. Think of someone whose life overflows with gifts and graces from God. Ask that the call of Christ may lead them to rely on him for all things. Think of someone who is faithful to Christ, someone who has known, loved and served God for many years, whose service has largely been hidden from others, someone who has remained in the background and has never received the encouragement they should. Ask that they may be assured of their value to God and their place in his kingdom. And think of yourself and all that is happening in your life at this time. Think of your hopes and fears, your dreams and doubts, your if-onlys and your might have been. Think of all you would like Christ to do in and through your life. Ask that he will fill you with his Holy Spirit and confirm his lordship over your life. And think of all those people who are struggling this week with uncertainty of where life is going now, with that desire to fill their shelves and their petrol tanks, the fear of what might happen if they don't, the fear of looking after their families and their loved ones, those people whose lives might be filled with greed actually. And we pray that there will be a more generous sharing between people, a kindness, a caring and a love for others that will be more visible as we move on from this place. We bring all our prayers in Christ's name. Amen. And so we sing again. Hymn number 701, Heaven Shall Not Wait. Thank you.
Heaven shall not wait for the poor to lose their patience, the scorned to smile, the despised to find a friend. Jesus is Lord, he has championed the unwanted. In him injustice confronts its timely end. And shall not wait for the rich to share their fortunes, the proud to fall, the elite to tend the least. Jesus is Lord, he has shown the Master's privilege to kneel and watch servants treat before they feast. And shall not wait for the dawn of great ideas, thoughts of compassion divorced from cries of pain. Jesus is Lord, he has married word and action, his cross and company made his purpose plain. And shall not wait for triumphant hallelujahs, when earth has passed and we reach another shore. Jesus is Lord in our present imperfection, his power and love are for now and then forevermore.
You may be thinking by now, why hasn't Alison asked anybody else to do anything in this service? Well, I have. I've asked Tom to do the reading. But when we looked at it back, we actually decided that we were going to put the reading at the end of the service because it was so uplifting. And Thomas has chosen a hymn, he'll tell you about that in a minute, that we thought it would be a really nice note to go out on. So as we close our service today, let me just pray with you for a moment and then Thomas will finish it all off for us. Loving God, thank you for this time together, for laying on our hearts a new way of being, in fact an old way of being, to go right back to basics. Be with us in all we do this week. Be close to us at our very next breath, but stir our hearts and minds to do your will, knowing that we are your equipment. In Jesus' name, amen. Keep safe, and now over to Tom for our psalm.
Good morning. I'll be reading Psalm 126. When the Lord brought back his exiles to Jerusalem, it was like a dream. We were filled with laughter, and we sang for joy. And the other nations said, "What amazing things the Lord has done for them." Yes, the Lord has done amazing things for us. What joy! Restore our fortunes, Lord, as streams renew the desert. Those who plant in tears will harvest with shouts of joy. They weep as they go to plant their seed, but they sing as they return with the harvest. Well, we've come to the end of our service for this week, and I've picked our final hymn. We're going to go out with joy by singing hymn number 487 in Singing the Faith. You shall go out with joy. Have a lovely week, everybody, and see you all again soon. Goodbye for now.
You shall go out with joy and be led forth with peace. On the mountains and the hills shall break forth before you. There'll be shouts of joy, and the trees of the field shall clap their hands. And the trees of the field shall clap their hands. And the trees of the field shall clap their hands. And the trees of the field shall clap their hands. And you'll go out with joy. We shall go out with joy and be led forth with peace. And the mountains and the hills shall break forth before you. There'll be shouts of joy, and the trees of the field shall clap their hands. And the trees of the field shall clap their hands. And the trees of the field